Imagine being humiliated in front of a packed plane, told you're not welcome, and then escorted off as if you didn't belong. That's exactly what happened to her, a determined black woman with a fire in her heart and a point to prove. She boarded the flight like anyone else, but within minutes, everything changed. Words were exchanged, tempers flared, and before she knew it, she was standing outside the plane, stunned and speechless. But what happened next? Well, it's the kind of plot twist you won't see coming. In just 5 minutes, the tables turned in the most unimaginable way, leaving the entire airline staff in disbelief. How does someone go from being kicked off a flight to holding all the power? Stay tuned to hear this incredible story of resilience, quick thinking, and an outcome that left everyone's jaws on the floor. You don't want to miss this. As she stood outside the plane, her mind raced with emotions: anger, embarrassment, disbelief. Passengers inside stared through the windows, some shaking their heads, others whispering to each other. She wasn't causing a scene. She hadn't done anything wrong. So why was she being treated this way? Her heart pounded as she replayed the moments leading up to this. The flight attendant's tone had been sharp, dismissive. She'd asked for a simple clarification, but it seemed like that was enough to spark unnecessary tension. Was it a misunderstanding or something deeper? She tried to collect herself, breathing deeply to fight back tears. But she wasn't about to let this moment define her. While staff mumbled apologies she didn't believe, she made a decision. She would take control of the situation. What happened next was the start of something no one, especially the airline, could have anticipated. Her next move would change everything. She walked back into the airport, her head held high, though inside she was still reeling. The stares from strangers didn't bother her anymore. She had something bigger to focus on. With her phone clutched tightly in her hand, she started making calls. She wasn't just upset, she was determined to get answers. She wanted accountability, not just for herself, but for anyone else who might have been treated unfairly like this. Meanwhile, the airline staff seemed unsettled. Word spread quickly among them about her boldness. Passengers who had seen the situation unfold began talking too, sharing their own frustrations with the way things were handled. For her, though, this wasn't just about a single incident. It was about something much larger: respect, fairness, and standing up for what's right. But just as she was gathering herself to take the next step, something unexpected had the unexpected turn, caught her completely off guard. A man in a sharp suit approached her, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. He introduced himself as someone high up in the airline's management, but his demeanor was different: calm, respectful, almost cautious. Word of the incident had apparently reached him faster than she expected. He apologized for what had happened, but she could tell there was more to his approach. It wasn't just damage control, it felt like he was carefully weighing her next move. As they spoke, a small crowd began to gather nearby. Passengers who had witnessed the ordeal and staff who were clearly trying to avoid being implicated all watched silently. She kept her composure, but her words were sharp and deliberate. She detailed exactly what had happened, each sentence laced with the frustration and determination she had carried since being removed from the flight. The man listened intently, but as the conversation went on, his face shifted. It wasn't just embarrassment. It was the look of someone realizing the gravity of their mistake. She could feel the tension in the air as the situation reached a boiling point. Whatever was about to happen next, it would be big-penned, setting off a chain of events no one could have predicted. Just as she thought the conversation couldn't get any more intense, the man's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his face tightening as he read the message. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, stepping away hurriedly. She watched as he walked off, speaking in hushed tones with someone on the other end of the call. The unease in his expression told her something was happening, something that went beyond her situation. Minutes later, he returned, visibly shaken, but trying to maintain his composure. "It seems there's more to this than we realized," he began, his voice low. He gestured for her to follow him, away from the crowd that had been lingering nearby. She hesitated but ultimately agreed, curiosity and suspicion pulling her forward. He led her to a private office where another person was waiting, a lawyer, judging by the sharp suit and briefcase. The air grew heavier as she sat down, her heart racing. "There's been a mistake," the man admitted, but the look on his face told her it wasn't just about her being removed from the flight. This was bigger, much bigger, and she was about to be caught right in the middle of it. As she sat in the office, the tension was suffocating. The lawyer laid out a document in front of her, sliding it across the desk with a calm but serious expression. "What happened to you was unacceptable," he began, "but it's also revealed something we can't ignore." She leaned forward, trying to make sense of what she was hearing. The airline had been under scrutiny for months due to multiple complaints of discriminatory practices. Her case was the tipping point, caught on video by another passenger and already spreading online like wildfire. The lawyer explained that the airline's reputation was hanging by a thread and they needed to act quickly. But that wasn't the twist. The man in management turned to her, his voice steady but urgent. "We want to make this right, not just for you, but to prove we can do better. As of today, we're offering you a stake in our company, a seat on the board to help us change the culture from the inside." She was stunned. Of all the outcomes she'd imagined, this was nowhere on the list. But before she could respond, the lawyer added one more thing. "This offer comes with one condition. You must decide right here, right now." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. The power was in her hands, and the decision she made next would change her life forever. She took a deep breath, the weight of the moment sinking in. The offer was overwhelming, unexpected but undeniably powerful. As she looked around the room, she thought about everything that had brought her to this point. The humiliation, the anger, the determination to stand up for herself, it all led here. Finally, she spoke. "I'll accept, but only if this isn't just for show. Real change needs to happen, and I'll make sure it does." The man nodded, visibly relieved, while the lawyer began outlining the next steps. It felt surreal, but she knew this was her chance to turn a moment of injustice into something greater. In the weeks that followed, the news spread everywhere. She became a symbol of resilience, using her new position to push for accountability and fairness. What started as a nightmare ended as an opportunity to rewrite the rules, and she made sure her voice would never be silenced again.